raise the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road to Growth listeners. Today I have Dave Fink. He is the CEO of Postie. Thank you, Dave, for being here.
Thanks for having me. Been looking forward to it.
So I'm going to dive deeper into what you do, and I'm curious how you would describe it. I mean, we talked about it before we got on. The synopsis I have, and I could be totally off, is bringing old technology, right, with new technology, bringing the idea that's out of date of writing letters, postcards, things like that, but using new technology to make it more efficient. But I could probably be totally off on that description. So I would love to hear how you would describe it.
Sure. I think the way that we think about it, it's more about recognizing that over the last 10 to 15 years in digital marketing, just technology has innovated at light speed. And the tools available to reach and engage and communicate with your customers online are tremendous. And those tools make us smarter and more efficient and look better in our jobs and our roles and grow our businesses at a faster pace than ever and create value. And but they are somewhat limiting in just the competitive landscape, the kind of ability to gain kind of consistency. And I'm talking about channels like social and search and programmatic, where you're constantly fighting to reach your audience and competing with your competitors and other advertisers. And then you look at all these other kind of amazing traditional channels that are big and can be effective, and direct mail is the one that we focus on. As you mentioned, you're actually sending physical mail to prospects and customers. Those channels are incredibly effective, but the technology and tools have that kind of have evolved in the digital world haven't yet kind of made their way into those traditional channels. And so we look at and think about, how do we blend those two things together? How do we bring all the value to being able to reach your customers with kind of weighty, high engaging touch points through direct mail advertising, and combine that with the data, the targeting, the measurement, the automation available in digital channels. So it's not dissimilar from how you positioned it, but we think about taking really big traditional, highly effective and engaging media channels and then blending them together with the dynamic innovation of digital technologies.
How do you because again, there's probably people listening right now, right? And there's probably a lot of people on stages that talk basically not in a positive light of some of the parts, I guess, of what you guys do, right? So, I mean, and we bring our own baggage to it. Like if you, like, I see a guitar in your background, if you're watching us, you see a guitar, and I start thinking about all the baggage I have with the guitar, of me trying to play and learn how to play a guitar, and it never really worked out. And I had one tune, and people go, okay, well, postcards, mailers, things like that. We bring our own baggage to that. So how do you weed past that when you're talking to someone about what you do? Is that kind of like a last minute thing? Is it like, I want to talk about us first before I kind of start saying words that you might bring your own baggage to, or what happens there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you pointed the guitar behind me, because there's I just saw a meme yesterday on a flight back from Denver, and it was basically showing like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and it's like kind of saying like no big deal, and then it shows Leo Fender and kind of is basically like, look, this is like real innovation. Think about how music has touched so many of our our lives, and so I think that translates nicely to I think to your question on kind of on you framed it as baggage, and I would think about it more as like experience. If you look at the direct mail channel, first of all, on the positive, $50 billion a year is spent in direct mail marketing in the US. So, certainly there's been no shortage of headlines around, the US Postal Service and And maybe some of the challenges with manufacturing these days, especially in a post-COVID era, and those all kind of let our mind wander and think about what are the potential challenges of of this channel. But when you think about that volume, right, $50 billion is spent into this channel, and it is a measurable channel, meaning that $50 billion, advertisers generally understand whether it's working for them or not. I just look at it and say it's not about kind of the baggage or negativity. It's about how do you unlock the power of a channel that advertisers are already finding that level of success and scale on. And that's our entire focal point. It's how do we bring technology, tools, innovation, measurement, transparency, automation, dynamicness to this channel that is tremendously effective. And kind of put those tools in the hands of marketers so that they can expand beyond just search and social and some of the channels that they may be very reliant on currently.
So I guess it's the idea of focusing on more innovation, focusing more on being creative, and then kind of having a secondary thing. This is how we are innovative. This is how we are creative. And we use these different platforms, these different ways of getting there. Did I kind of?
Yeah, I think you said it super eloquently.
Well, let's talk about a younger Dave. I mean, who was a younger Dave? Was he thinking of ways to get the word out there? Was he an advertiser? Was he an entrepreneur? Who was a younger Dave?
Yeah, well, it depends, what decade we're talking about. The youngest Dave was, certainly not thinking of any of these things. Was skateboarding and snowboarding and playing music and whatnot. A slightly older Dave spent the beginning of my career it kind of oscillating back and forth between working for marketing technology companies, always in digital spaces. So I did not come from a traditional direct mail background. My marketing experience was constantly thinking about how to leverage data and testing and measurement and kind of tapping into the newest and most emerging channels. And those channels evolved tremendously from when I got into the space in 1999 through today. And then spent the other half kind of my career cycles working on consumer brands that kind of recognized there were opportunities to compete more aggressively with the big incumbents as we understood digital emerging media channels and had a competitive advantage. We were very quick to get to search, and we were very quick to get to display and to email and SMS and social, etc. And so the evolution for me was really a matter of it was a bit on one hand counterintuitive. On the other hand, it was just a kind of 360-degree turn, which is back in 2000, I remember being an ad salesperson selling digital advertising and using talk tracks around these channels like TV and radio and direct mail and billboards are saturated and they're slow moving. You need to kind of break out out of those channels and think about how you can leverage the internet. The internet's the future of marketing. I mean, I remember how crazy some of these thoughts must have sounded. I would call into big Fortune 500 companies and ask was there somebody there handling digital advertising or internet marketing? And in most cases, there wasn't. There wasn't a title of digital marketer. Maybe there was some young kid in the corner somewhere trying to figure out how to make the internet work. And then you kind of make the full cycle. And what got me focused on Postie and trying to innovate in the direct mail channel was the opposite had happened. The typical advertiser has moved all their budget or a big portion of their budget into digital. And so you look at channels like search and social that are so important to us. And those channels are really, really competitive. So they generally, work and there's tremendous value there. But when you're talking about bidding with dozens and dozens to hundreds of competitors in your vertical, and just you're constantly fighting with every advertising dollar to get your ad to serve in front of your audience, you recognize that there's just a certain ceiling that didn't exist before. And so now we're all looking and saying like, okay, well, what do we do now? Like now that search and social and programmatic have a ceiling that's lower than it had been for many years, just because the cost basis has gone so high. Now we need to look and say like, okay, well, what are the next emerging channels? And there are some that are out there, but we also can look and say like, okay, well, all these ad dollars moved out of TV, out of radio, out of direct mail, or certainly didn't keep up with inflation. And there's opportunity to think about how we can grow our businesses efficiently, engage with our customers effectively through these more traditional channels. So now I'm out there saying like, it's great that you have all this budget and this commitment, sophistication in your digital marketing, but how do you think about tackling some of these other big, effective, more traditional channels with the same insight and vigor that you leverage against your digital channels? It's kind of the same talk track. It's just a 180-degree turn. And I think the humor's not lost on me.
What now? Well, let's rewind, because there's a lot of stuff to kind of peel away from there. I mean, when you first started in marketing, right? Was it, I guess, for companies, corporations, or were you like a solo entrepreneur kind of doing it on your own, or what was that process like, that younger Dave?
Yeah, for me, I spent many years working for super smart people, and kind of, I think about getting paid to go to grad school almost. It was super, I always kind of tell some of the up and comers in my company, or even just people that I have a bit of a mentor relationship with, that in my early days, I had way more motivation and capability, but was aware of it. And so for me, I certainly was friends with and saw and was in awe of some of those entrepreneurs who came out of high school, even certainly college, and just had this innate ability to build companies, and kind of break through the maybe nervousness or unknown. That definitely wasn't me. I was someone who needed to kind of learn and have a support network and kind of go through the process of understanding each component associated with building a business, understanding how to generate revenue, how to service that revenue, how to think about P&Ls, how to think about operations, how to think about managing teams, how to build product and engage with engineers and data scientists. And that took a long time. For me, that was easily a 15-year road to get to the place where I finally felt comfortable and capable of not just building my own companies, but doing so successfully.
Looking back on it, and it's probably a tough question to ask, but I mean, looking back on it, do you ever think that it took you too long to start your own company? Oh,
look, I'm my harshest critic for sure. And I look, I'm 46 right now. And I kind of tease myself that, as Postie is a successful company. I'm really proud of what we've built and what we continue to build. But I'm kind of, at that stage in my life where like, that's what I should be doing. I've 24 years of work experience, and I'm not that, young whiz kid launching, a company out of his parents', house or whatnot. So I would say, look, I certainly, beat myself up quite a bit and have some revisionist history and think through, why didn't I take, more risk earlier? The truth of the matter is that I had started a number of a few different businesses along the way at earlier times. They weren't tremendously successful. And I don't know exactly if that's because I wasn't ready, or I didn't have the confidence that I have now, or that I just picked businesses that maybe weren't well aligned with my capabilities, or the network of individuals that I was, trying to engage in starting business with me. I don't know. Like, look, if I can't say like I should have done it differently, but I certainly recognize and impress with those people who can figure things out very early on without as many details as I feel like I needed to know in order to feel confident starting businesses. There are some people out there that can do that, and there are other people that I think need to kind of grow into it. And I was one that had to grow into it, and that's just been my path. So I kind of accept it and own it and have perspective of that now.
Do you think, I mean, because you said the 15 years, and as you're going through the years, you're like, okay, I need to learn more about this. I need to learn more about this, and kind of working through it. Was it, and then you're also, it sounds like you're starting kind of side businesses that maybe weren't as profitable as you hoped. So was it, you didn't have enough confidence that you could build that business on the sides, or you're waiting for that side business become profitable before you left the corporation?
No. When I started businesses, they weren't side businesses. The times before launching Postie that I started businesses, I left the companies that I was working at. It's really, really hard to start. I think businesses on the side do a good job and be ethical and fair to your employer. None of us are expected to sell our souls and our spare time is our spare time. But I do know what tends to happen, which is if you're working on something that's yours that you own, there's more of your mind share even through, the hours that you should be working on, the project you're getting paid for. Your mind starts wandering to your own projects. And so I've always been kind of an all or nothing type of person. And so that's not how I did it. I do know that there are plenty of people that started things on the side and kind of moved their way out. You also have to be careful with that because oftentimes you have, employment contracts where the IP that you're working on while employed is owned by, the company you're working for. They need to protect, their investors and public markets and whatnot. So for anyone kind of listening and thinking about, do they do something on the side, or do they, transition out and focus on it? You have to kind of be thoughtful and make sure you understand what your obligations to your existing employer are. Those are real, and there's no shortage of kind of sad stories about people who started things and thought they owned it and they didn't own the IP there. But I think your question is more in line with, or it was more about, what did it take to maybe get to a place where I was launching successful businesses, and what I can, I spend a good amount of time kind of analyzing and trying to understand, my path and how to get better and just understanding myself, and career is a big part of that. If I think back to the first, business or two that I started, I didn't have a ton of capital. They were self-funded businesses. They were probably bigger categories that required more capital than I knew how to raise at the time or thought I needed to raise. And so I was always kind of strangling them so that they didn't have the oxygen they needed to be successful. There was very little margin of error in those. And then, and I think for me, the turning point was for about 6 or 7 years prior to launching Postie, I had the opportunity to partner up with a number of partners and start a tech studio kind of / incubator. And we raised money and had capital to invest in early stage teams that were working on launching their own businesses, and really that was kind of a launch platform for entrepreneurs. And during those 6-7 years, I think we were involved in investing in buying, selling, launching, incubating close to 75 different businesses. Not all of them were successful. Some of them were tremendously successful. But for me, it gave me the opportunity to just kind of live in the perpetual launch of businesses for many years. And that's a really rare experience where typically you start a business and that business progresses and maybe it is, maybe it isn't successful, but that's a several year path. And then by the time you get to kind of the outcome or the end game of that business and you decide to go start another business, you kind of forget a little bit of what those early years were like when you were resource strapped and you didn't have proof of concept and you're writing that first line of code and developing that first product. But at this tech incubator, it was every week we were taking pitches from new businesses and new entrepreneurs. We were writing checks. We were building, helping them build their business plans. We were helping them raise capital. We were helping them find their first customers. And that to me was kind of the equivalent of like a batter being in the on deck circle, swinging 3 bats, right? It was just the pace, the speed, the access, the pattern recognition was something that very few people, I think, get. And so when it became time to kind of evaluate and put together the next business model, which became Postie, I had just lived the start for the past 6 years, and going from an idea to product market fit to first customer to building core infrastructure. That I just can't imagine being more equipped to do that. And I didn't have that 10 years earlier when I started my previous company. I was doing everything for the first time. I didn't know what to expect day to day. And so I think, again, that theme is consistent with what I shared earlier with, I was someone that needed to train and practice and analyze and experience in order to acquire kind of the breadth of skills and knowledge and confidence, I think, to be in a position to build companies successfully. And right now I feel like it almost doesn't matter what vertical business model problem we're setting out to solve. If I was to jump into launching another business, I think I have that depth of experience and capability that I would feel very confident doing so. And that's kind of a cool place to be, knowing that there have been plenty of times through my career that it was the complete opposite. I was a disaster. I was anxious. Everything was scary. But that's part of, I think, life and a career, right?
And getting over those, it being scary, being all those words you used, is that just over time?
Yeah, I don't think there's a shortcut to most things. There are, here or there, and certainly more direct and less direct paths. But I think with regards to real accomplishment, real knowledge, real capabilities, most things require time and effort and practice. I'm sure, there are athletes out there who, just naturally come out of the womb able to throw a ball or hit a ball or throw a spiral or hit a golf ball or whatever it is. But even those people, I mean, I grew up in Chicago and during the Michael Jordan era, and sure, that guy, obviously had more talent than probably anybody else in the history of the game. But he was also the first one at practice shooting free throws, and he was the last one to leave practice, even during his peak years. So I think innate ability and right place, right time, all those things matter. But practice and repetition and exposure, commitment, those are all things that I think are just as important.
Well, talking about things that are very important. I mean, you're around so many startups. So what were some things that, I'm guessing over time you go, okay, if I solve this with the startup, they're probably going to have some level of success. But if I solve this over here, their success level might not be where it should be. Did you see things like that start popping up?
So pattern recognition is invaluable. It just, the more times that you see things and pay attention, are able to find, the similes in those businesses. That's true power. I would say, I think a decent amount of time during those years of incubating businesses and deciding who to invest in and where to put more resources and efforts. There were kind of 2 camps of businesses, and both can be successful, but there's a distinct difference between those businesses that are built opportunistically. And what I mean by that is they kind of start with always start with like revenue model, business model first, right? There's an opportunity to make some money. There's an opportunity to leverage some knowledge or skill that we had as from a previous job. We have some domain expertise that we can leverage into a business. And then on the opposite end, there's what I would kind of call mission-driven businesses. That doesn't mean that these are necessarily businesses that are out there trying to save the world and solve the biggest problems in the world. What I mean by that is that they're businesses where the entrepreneur or the founders have recognized there's a problem out there, and they build a business around this idea of hey, we think that we can build a solution for this problem. And it could be a small problem, it could be a mid-sized problem, it could be a big problem. But those businesses you get up and again, you are mission driven. It's not just about how you maximize revenue or the P&L or your COGS or your expenditures. It's more about what can I do day in, day out to build the best solution to this problem. And I just think that those type of businesses are like, look, they're more genuine. They're sometimes more challenging, but all businesses are challenging, and you have good days and bad days. And what I saw is that, if you're a mission-driven founder or founding team or business, getting up during the challenging times and operating through those challenges becomes much easier than if you're an opportunistic business, because all you look at is, is it making money? Is it not making money? Is it easy? Is it hard? Versus, hey, this is challenging, but I believe in what we're doing. I know there's this problem out there that lots of people like me are feeling, and you can kind of charge through those challenging times that every business has. So that's one big pattern that I think is really important. Another one is, look, there's got to be a path to growth, and so when evaluating businesses, or even invest, making with my investor hat on, looking at understanding a company or a team's view and capabilities to acquire customers, generate revenue, tell their story, build awareness. That really matters. And there are definitely both teams and businesses that have an easier, more direct path to driving that awareness and revenue generation, and there are businesses that are more challenging. And so certainly, the more direct path, the more likely businesses is to succeed, and so those patterns get picked up on pretty early.
Well, going back to that, I guess the idea that you said about like having that mission, having to push through the low moments. What was the original mission for yourself when you were building this, and what pushed you through those low moments?
Yeah, so the mission for us, we definitively did not start out with the hypothesis of how do we reinvent the direct mail space. Like that wasn't the mission. The mission was, we've been, we spent the last, at that point, 6 to 8 years, heavily invested in growing businesses and building businesses that could capitalize on the emergence of social media in particular, both organic and paid. And look, Facebook, is a beast and a behemoth, and there's a lot of great that Facebook's ads platform has given to marketers and businesses and entrepreneurs, and we certainly invested a lot and got a lot of great value there. But it's also anyone who's ever spent $1 or more on Facebook knows that algorithms change. Facebook's not in the business of figuring out how to make our lives as marketers easy. They're looking at how they more effectively grow their P&L. And they do that by selling more ads and by making those ads more expensive. And so, when you think about being a marketer and your ability to grow your business on Facebook, 10 years ago, and now your ability to grow your business on Facebook 5 years ago, and your ability to grow your business on Facebook today, it's harder than ever in many ways. The tools are more accessible, and the capabilities of managing your Facebook media spend is easier than ever, but the competitive landscape and the cost of acquiring customers on Facebook continuously goes up. And quite frankly, they've made lots of decisions throughout the years that have been really painful to marketers. There were days when Facebook was all about getting you to spend money building your followers, your fan pages, and we all, many of us spent millions and millions of dollars doing that, and we really invested in building the Facebook ecosystem. And then one day they said, hey, guess what? Now you can no longer reach those people that you already paid to build, and we appreciate you building the engagement of Facebook for us. But now we're going to charge you to reach those individuals and boost your posts and whatnot. Well, that's like that's not a game. Like that, like we had businesses, right? We had raised tens of millions of dollars in investor dollars. We had companies that were publicly traded, where the value of those companies were greatly tied to your ability to source new customers and engage those customers. And when a platform that became as powerful as Facebook changes the way that they allow you to engage with their media, that's really scary. And so for us, it was, hey, it's we've kind of tapped out what we can do with these businesses on Facebook. Facebook has every user known to humankind on their platform already. Like there's no more growth for them from a usability perspective, and ad rates will continue to go up. So our mission was, how do we leverage, all the investment we've made in understanding our customers, understanding how to communicate with unique customers in a unique, personalized way, how to, really build a relationship with customers rather than just market to them. How do we take that and all those learnings and capabilities and find other, ways to reach those same consumers and prospects, but in a way that we have more control. And so that that's the mission. The mission is how do we give advertisers and brands more power and control over the way that they can reach, engage, communicate with their prospects and their customers, so that they don't have to rely solely on one channel that historically has has provided lots of value, but also has provided lots of pain throughout the years.
So is most of the call to action to the company's website, or call to action more towards calling in? I mean, because you're trying to drive them away from mostly probably social media, I guess, right? Or to Facebook?
Yeah, it's all the above. I mean, the beauty is when you think about direct mail, or really any addressable media channel. Addressable meaning a channel where you can speak to a specific individual, group of individuals, and who they are. Different than like a billboard, where you maybe do some research on driving patterns and the general people that drive by that billboard. But with direct mail, just like with social or search, you can leverage your knowledge about who these individuals are that you want to reach, what their interests are, how they engage with your advertising or your brand, and with regards to the call to action can be anything. It's really contingent upon the specific brand or advertiser and their marketing objective. So we see the broadest set of use cases, right? We see brands that are digital only, and so the CTA is always driving those consumers or prospects to a website. We work with omnichannel retailers who sometimes are pushing traffic to websites or microsites. Other times they're trying to drive activity in a retail location. Certainly there's there are brands that are have a more complicated product offering and have customer service teams on the phone that are engaging with prospect consumers, and so those brands oftentimes are driving to the phone as a call to action. There's not a one size fits all. It's a media channel that allows you to be kind of very targeted and knowledgeable about who you're engaging with, when, and with what message, the media has proven to be really effective at being able to engage a lot of different or elicit a lot of different consumer behavior, whether it's picking up a mobile device or a computer and going to a website, whether it's getting in a car and driving somewhere, or whether it's picking up a phone.
Well, you and your company have evolved over, the years that you've been in the business. Where do you see the evolution of yourself and your company, and maybe even the platform that you're through is going to evolve in the next 5 years from now?
So interestingly, it's so common that when an entrepreneur starts a business, that business, model, evolves quite a bit as they kind of learn, throughout the years. And you hear in the kind of investment world or entrepreneur world, you hear the term pivot so often, where you start down one path and you learn something that opens up another door, and sometimes you make a slight turn in your business or your business model or your product. Other times, like what you worked on just was a total miss, but you built some valuable assets and you can kind of completely pivot them into a different business. I can tell you definitively that my co-founder Jonathan and I, when we built out the initial vision of the business and started putting it down in writing and in PowerPoint and whatnot, the business that we're executing today, 6 years later, from the time we launched, is exactly the same business. The specific minutia and the tools and the type of clients that we work with and all the capabilities and the data science and machine learning and what we've learned about what works in direct mail and in 2022 and beyond, those things, there's some movement there, but the business is really exactly the same. And for us, I think it's just continue to drive awareness of the channel, drive awareness through our own marketing efforts of the capabilities that advertisers can access through through the Postie platform. And our vision is that there has never been a centralized ads management platform for direct mail. There are 1,000 different ways to run direct mail. Most of them are fairly clunky and labor intensive and manual. And so for us, if we keep doing what we're doing, building, bringing the innovation and modern technology to this channel to make the channel again more efficient, more performant, easier to understand, and more insightful. I think the overall vision is that at some point we could be in a world where if you're running direct mail, of course you'd be leveraging the Postie platform to do it most effectively. So that's our mission. We'll feel like we succeeded when Postie's become a household name in marketing stack in general, where every advertiser is thinking about investing in and learning their way through direct mail, and each of the advertisers and brands that is invested in direct mail is leveraging the Postie platform, because the suite of capabilities, tools, technologies, data, insights that they can access through the platform are as game changing as some of these other digital channels, ads tools are. I think we've made some great progress, but every day is a new day. More information is accessible, and the more that we continually invest in building out the tools and technology, the more value we can provide to the marketplace.
How often do you have to reassess the tool capabilities that you have and reassess basically what's possible out there? Because I guess, right, that's constantly changing. So there's probably ways of pushing the boundaries, I guess.
Minute by minute.
Okay.
Look, no different than what we talked about earlier in this conversation, where innovation can happens at warp speed these days. Our business is no different. The beauty of the Postie platform is that there are thousands of advertisers on the platform deploying hundreds of millions of pieces of mail of ads to tens of thousands of different audiences and running tens of thousands of different creative, and everything's measurable, both on an individual basis and in aggregate. And so our team and our platform is constantly learning from what's working and not working. Similarly, we invest really heavily in our customer success teams, and they care a lot about the clients that they're engaged with. And that information, we've worked really hard to create an open culture here where learnings from one team member can be shared across the entire organization rapidly. We still live and die by it. Every campaign, every client. When a client's happy, we want to understand why they're finding value and success in the channel and on Postie. And when a client's unhappy, even for a brief moment, we take that really seriously, and it feels like the entire world is collapsing around us. Neither is real, right? You got to keep things in perspective, but we do have that edge to us where every single customer matters, and would probably maybe shift a little too high when we see some positivity, and a little too low when we see negativity. But I think that edge keeps us constantly llooking, internally to what we could do better, what a need that we, in the market is that we've missed so far. And that I'm not exaggerating, that cycles through every single day, every conversation, every internal meeting, every Slack channel. It's constant. And that's the fun of being an entrepreneur, is that tomorrow can be totally different than today. Like, nothing prevents us from completely changing our perspective or putting a new idea into the product queue, and that's what's kept me in this the entrepreneurial world, the tech world, for the majority of my career.
And I'll finish it out, and I thank you, Dave, for being here. I mean, and I'll finish with this question: how long does it usually take for, a client or people in this sector to see results? 'Cause I know there's an idea in my line of business where it's like it takes about 6 months to a year, sometimes a little longer, right, to see true results, especially based off of the advertising you're doing, the marketing you're doing. What do you usually see when you're working with a client? I know it probably varies. Is there like a ballpark or anything like that?
Yeah, so we're a different beast, and that's kind of core to our mission, which is efficiency and speed. The faster you learn, the faster you can take an idea from your head and get it out into the world, the faster that you can get results, the faster you can optimize. And that's the game, right? With marketing, especially data-driven marketing, the odds of getting it like perfect out of the gate in any channel are if you do, it's oftentimes as much luck as it is hypothesis or execution. I love more when customers or clients or advertisers are engaging with the channel and don't find immediate success, but within a few months do find success because they've learned something. They're in control then of the levers and understand what levers they can pull to engage customers and prospects effectively to positively influence their business. But with that being said, we're a growing business and we're sizable at this point, but the majority of dollars going to direct mail are going through the long tail of traditional agencies, brokers, trying to do it yourself, et cetera. When you do it that way, it takes easily 6, 9, 12 months to see results. Typical traditionally executed direct mail campaign takes 90 days from the time you decide you're ready to get going to when you're actually in home. And then usually, most agencies will give you results about 60 days later. Those results will be a little fuzzy because there's nothing automated. So you're talking about 5 months from the time you decide you want to start playing with direct mail to when you even have insights into how your first campaigns work. Postie is the complete opposite. So everything's automated. We have clients that will onboard, today, and next week they'll have first, pieces of mail, first ads hitting homes. And because attribution and measurement happens in automated fashion on the platform, they can start, clicking into their campaigns on the Postie, on their Postie accounts and start seeing, conversions come in and start gaining insights into those campaigns. So, when we think about what we call POVs or proof of values, these are kind of like initial light engagements with clients who are not doing direct mail and they're just kind of getting exposure to it. We want to know that within the first 90 days we've tested dozens of ads, concepts, audiences, model builds, etc. And at the end of that 90 days whether it's, the channel's perfectly optimized or not, there's enough, data and understanding, insights, and confidence that that the vast majority of brands would feel very comfortable leaning into the channel and getting excited about it. So, our world's very different. You create, you sign on with us, you onboard, you create an account, and you start sending mail. A week or two later, that's been a game changer to advertisers who maybe historically would say like, oh, if it's going to take me the better part of a year to figure out this channel, I'll worry about it later. Now they can look and say like, hey, Facebook is crushing me right now. I need some way to reallocate media dollars to affect my quarterly goals. I can actually affect this quarter's goals with direct mail. Working with Postie, and I think that's really important in any media channel, that it's not just accessible, it's not just perform, it's not just scalable, but it's also it can be fast and affect your business sooner rather than later.
Well, thank you, Dave, for being here. Thank you for giving all your insights. If someone's listening right now and they're just excited to try something different, like you said, right? They spend a lot of money on Facebook and they don't want to deal with the multitude of algorithms out there. What's the best way of them finding Postie, finding more information about what you guys are doing? What's the best platform?
Yeah, so a great place to start is on our website, postie.com, and that's just postie.com. We work hard to present lots of content there, case studies, use cases. There's a good amount of knowledge, and then you can reach us directly on the site, and our team will get in touch, usually same day, if not within 24 hours. And you can set up an initial consultation, and we can help figure out if we're a good fit, and if and we're typically quite honest about whether we think your business is at the right place for direct mail. The kind of number one internal metric is customer retention, and so for us it never makes sense to try and onboard a client if we don't think they're in a place to find success through the channel. So don't hesitate to reach out, and our team will be very upfront in helping you assess the channel.
And yeah, I've been on the channel, very user friendly. So jump on there. Everything in the show notes has it for Posties in there. So take a look. Thank you, Dave, again for being here. Hopefully everyone listening got some great nuggets right there. I mean, by the time you're probably listening to this, there's probably be different changes, different information, different ways of doing it. Yet that's the fun of this. Just go to Posties, take a look, read the nuggets, and follow Dave. Thanks, guys. Please subscribe, please share, and have a great one. Bye, everyone.